So first things first, how are you?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
It's very good to hear. So before we jump into the Colors 2 album, I'd like to jump back to the time period of Colors 1 because you joined the band around 2005 and
2004, actually.
2004.
Mhm.
So you had an album under your belt. You did another album that wasn't an official album, but you kind of had found your way, I suppose, in the band. And then Colors, the first album comes up. What was your mindset around that album?
Well, we had just done Ozfest, and we're not typically a festival band. Um, there are some festivals that we've done that have gone extremely well for us, but that one in particular, I think we were a bit too weird for it. So I think we I think we kind of just realized what we were after that tour, and we had been writing material, and we kind of were just swinging for the fences, and we knew that we wanted to write something that was really good that represented where we were as a band, and that record really changed everything for us. I think that's the first record, the first real like new BT Bam record with the new lineup. And obviously it's well noted by us how special that record is to the fan base, and it's definitely very special to us as well. But I think we're in a similar position now, where the pandemic kind of sidelined our entire career, everyone's career. It kind of put everyone into a lot of fear and panic, and we wanted to do it again. We wanted to come out swinging, and that record was really special, like I said. So we just kind of were like, why don't we just write Colors 2? It gave us like a little extra fire under us, because Colors is so important.
Right. You mentioned kind of the notion of what are we as a band, or this identity that comes up when you play those festivals you don't really fit in. What have you found? Because as a band, you're also always developing, you're always growing, you're always progressing. So what have you found is the core of, in essence, of what you do?
Nothing is too weird for us, and I think our fan base, they're okay with the weird. They kind of encourage it. They encourage, never repeating ourselves, constantly pushing ourselves to do new stuff, to just experiment, not being bound by a single genre. We all listen to so much different music that we're just, we're fans of music. We're fans of so many different types of music. And when you have 5 people writing, you end up just getting this weird smorgasbord of different genres. You know what I mean?
If we take Colors 2, then what were from your perspective, the inspirations? Because you've talked about quite a bunch of guitarists over all of the interviews you've done in the past. But did you have anything specific for Colors 2 that you wanted to incorporate, or something that was just in the back of your mind?
Not really. We never really go into writing material saying, hey, we're going to write a record that sounds like this, or we're going to write a song that sounds like this. I think that we just kind of grow each record, and, the material that we come up with, it kind of, I don't know, we press ourselves to do something different. And, obviously the longer you play an instrument and the longer that you're writing records as a band, things have gotten very natural for us at this point. You know what I mean? Like it's not some process that's like pulling your hair out. It's actually, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's we know each other and we like trust each other musically, you know, like we're like, we know that we're going to do our best. And I trust that everyone in my band is going to write cool stuff. So we just kind of go in blind, you know, just with the hopes that we're going to write a cool record, you know?
Well, one thing that just jumped into my mind is whenever you try to push the envelope and then try to expand whatever it is that you're doing, is there, in a sense, because especially the type of music that you make, is there a danger that you can make it too difficult for yourself?
I mean, you know, obviously, you know, go like what we're about to do this evening with, you know, 21 years of BT BAM tour. You go back and you relearn material from a long time ago when you were in like a different place, and it's really hard to play. You know, you're kind of like, what in the hell were we thinking? You know, this is impossible. So, you know, I don't think, you know, we don't write anything that's technical for the sake of being technical. You know, I think that, you know, I think we definitely run into that with some of the older stuff. You know, we may be like, God, this is hard as shit to play. You know, you have to kind of retrain yourself to play it. But, you know, as far as new stuff, like I said, we're just writing stuff that we like, and we're sending each other parts, and then we just build songs out of it. The thought process isn't like I'm going to write a part that's extremely technical or extremely just balls to the wall. You know, it's just a very natural process, man. You know, we just, you know, the goal is to grow as a musician each record. The goal is to not repeat yourself, not put out the same record over and over, and really, you know, break new ground each time. And I think we've done a pretty good job of that, especially with Colors too.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because I've asked other bands this who had a good back catalog, but are you in a sense as good as your latest album then?
Say that one more time.
Are you in a sense as good as your latest album as a band?
What do you mean by that?
Well, in the sense, like you said, you're constantly developing, improving, but it's also kind of your latest offering to the world, which people will kind of judge you by. So do you put a lot of weight in kind of back catalog and legacy, or is it more living in the moment and living now?
Oh yeah, definitely living in the moment. I feel like whatever your new record is should be, you know, you should look at it as your best work. You shouldn't just settle for putting out new music just to have something new out to, you know, to make a paycheck or whatever. You know, we definitely are pushing ourselves to do our best work each time. And I think we would all agree there's something really special about this new one. I think it may be our best album ever.
When it comes to this particular album then, and obviously, like you say, it's a strange time in which to make an album. There's a lot of other things that are on your mind. How important was it for you personally to have this outlet, to have music to work on during this strange time?
Man, I think it may have been our saving grace, because, you know, Between the Buried and Me has always toured a lot. You know, we've been a pretty heavy touring band since the beginning, before this lineup. And I know for a fact that this is the longest any of us have been home since being in the band. This is the longest I've been home since I was in high school. And I'm 36 years old now. So it took a lot of adjusting and really putting effort into staying mentally and physically healthy. And I think having, you know, the pressure of writing a good record, you know, it gave us a sense of purpose. You know, it's our job. We actually had a job to do during this, rather than just sitting around kind of feeling hopeless, you know. It gave us something to care about and something to really try, you know, like we had a reason to try. And then we got to get up and record the album and be together, and it kind of made us feel somewhat normal. So I think it was incredibly important to us.
Right, and I would suppose, and this is just a guess, but that you had a little bit more time than you usually do on these kind of things. So the writing process, as you mentioned, it's important for the band that the follow-up to Colors is a good one. So what did go into the writing process? And you always have written very collectively, but were there, was it a very obsessive kind of process in a way?
Well, we wrote the record totally over the internet.
Okay.
Because we don't live around, you know. Tommy's in California, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee. The rest of the guys are in North Carolina. So the whole album was written over the internet. And I think that each one of us, I know I did, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, like analyzing parts, you know. Luckily we had the time to analyze and change stuff before we went into the studio. But, you know, I think any artist, when they're writing material, you know, maybe in the moment you finish writing and recording a part and you send it to your guys and you kind of start to wonder, is this good? You know, does this suck? You know, and then maybe you come back the next day and it's not quite as cool as you thought and you change something, you know. I definitely think it was great that we had some time to really fine tune things and trim the fat. You know what I mean?
And I'm sure you're happy with everything that ended up on the album. But is there maybe a part or just something you did guitar-wise or otherwise that sticks out to you that you're really happy with how it turned out?
I'm really happy with all of it, man. You know, typically I would say that every musician, there's a part on an album or a song that they're just not, you know, they may like some parts in it, but as a whole, they're not like super stoked on it. But I'm pretty happy with all of this record, you know, start to finish.
Well, let me delve into a couple of songs then, because, for instance, if we take the final track, which is kind of this big opus and it goes in all kinds of directions, when you're working over the internet, how do you make it into something that seems cohesive or sounds cohesive?
I think it's just kind of a result of this being our 11th record as a band, you know. We've written a ton of music and we've done it so many times that I think it's just kind of like a natural process that we've kind of gotten down at this point, you know. We kind of know when is enough and we kind of know how to build the framework. And, you know, you got to think, man, like it's really helpful having 5 people working on the music and you know, not just having like one creative force who's writing an entire record and then hiring people to play it live, you know. That's got to be so hard, you know. But you know, with us, maybe one of us sends a part that we think is really cool and then the other guys get their hands on it, maybe change a little thing, maybe change a transition, and then it's just like it's where it should have been all along. You know what I mean?
And in that sense, do you I don't know if this is the right word, but encroach on each other's kind of expertise? So do you help with the lyrics as well and those kind of things?
No, Tommy's totally responsible for the lyrics. I wouldn't say that any of us step on each other's toes or anything. We just, you know, like I said earlier, we just trust each other. We know that each guy is going to do their best. And we just, you know, like we're fans of what each of us write too, you know?
Right.
So
And I was having a conversation with another artist the other day who was kind of getting disillusioned with how music is consumed these days, and he was thinking of just putting out singles from now on. Yet obviously you as a band, you still believe in that collective whole and creating this body of work in an album. Why is that so important?
Well, you know, the music business is a fucking circus nowadays. That's no secret to anyone, you know. I think most things in life are a circus nowadays, as we can see from this last year. But, man, we're music fans, you know, and we listen to all the greats in every genre since the beginning of time, and we believe in music. We believe in the tradition of music, and you know, we buy records. We like records. We love records. We love music. And our music isn't meant to be listened to as just a single, because you're missing so much. You're only, by just hearing a single, you're just literally getting like a corner of the page. You know what I mean? It's like reading the first page of a book. You're going to be like, well, what the hell happens? You know what I mean? So
Right.
that's how we kind of look at our music, you know, like our songs are really long. The albums are usually pretty long because we have a lot to, you know. If anything, we don't have enough time, you know.
Well, that's an
So,
interesting point because as progressive bands, they always seem to be ahead of their audience in a way, if that makes sense. So, did you worry, or do you worry in general about kind of the risks that you take or the avenues that you go down, or is it the trust, as you mentioned, in each other that keeps everything kind of contained?
I don't think we worry about anything, man, because, you know, at this point, everyone knows the kind of band we are, you know,
Hmm.
and we don't write music for other people, you know. We write music because it's what we love. And, you know, I don't personally know what it's like to write, you know, to just go in writing a song just for a bunch of other people. You know what I mean? Like this is how we survive. This is our job. This is what keeps our lights on, you know, like this is very important to us, and this is our identity as musicians, you know. Like when we go to bed at night, you know, the goal is to be happy with yourself and feel good when you go to sleep, feel honest about what you're doing, you know.
Yeah, I suppose the way you talk about it, that might be a distinction between wanting to be a musician for the music and for the creative aspect of it, and people who might want fame out of it or want any sort of acknowledgement or, in a way.
Yeah, and you know, and I understand, you know, anybody that's you know, devoting their life to music, you know, I applaud because it's not easy, but you know, we also don't have to have the same opinion. You know, I understand that there are people that, you know, maybe really famous people that are doing music, just kind of, it's already been written for them or whatever, you know, they just kind of step in and um, be that character or whatever. I understand that, you know, and that's cool. I don't take anything away from that. But for us personally, you know, that's not really the world we come from, you know. Um, we just want to be happy with what we're creating, you know. We want to be proud of the music we're creating, and we want to enjoy playing it. Because at the end of the day, you got to go out and perform these songs thousands of times, you know, for years and years, and you have to be into what you're doing, or it would be miserable, wouldn't it?
Right. Well, and that brings me to kind of to close off this interview, the live aspect of what you do, which obviously for a year and a half or so kind of has been missing. But was that still in the back of your mind as you were writing this album that, hey, we're gonna have to be on stage and perform these songs, so let's make it. Was that a consideration, the live aspect?
I mean, I think with just naturally the type of band we are and the material being pretty technical, I think there's always a part in the studio where we're like, damn, this is going to be a bitch to play. You know what I mean? There are plenty of parts like that on the new album that are, you know, we noticed as we were recording, we were like, God, we're going to have to practice this a lot. But, you know, but that's what makes you better. You know, if you stay in your comfort zone forever and you're just playing what you know and what, you know, it's like going to McDonald's every day. You know exactly what you're going to get. It's just a normal cheeseburger, but you're going to miss out on, you know, trying finer foods and different cuisines from different cultures. And, you know, we want an advanced palate, you know, and, and by writing new records that are very challenging, it makes you a better player because you have to be able to perform it as clean as the album, which is very hard, but you know.
So has that process started yet? Have you tried to transfer Colors 2 into how you want to play it live?
Not yet, just because this tour we're about to do was scheduled for May of 2020. So we have to do that before we do anything. So I'm sure after this tour, we'll start, you know, relearning all that. I mean, our brains are completely maxed out right now, man. We're about to play like 2.5 hour shows of our entire discography. So, you know, I don't know what room we have left in our brains, you know?
Yeah, as I was listening to the album, I had similar thoughts when I listened to John Petrucci's solo album. It's like, it's just amazing how you can keep this up for over an hour and do that. So it's very impressive what you guys do. Yeah, as a closing note, one of the things I specifically like about your music is that it's unpredictable. You never know which way it will go, and I think that's, as you mentioned, that's an important part of art, that you also challenge the listener. It's not like you say you go to McDonald's, you know exactly what you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's the goal, you know. You know, I watched a movie recently that made me feel like that, and it made me so happy because I was like, I'm so glad that there are still artists that still strive for that. You know what I mean? Like, you may get used to watching funny movies or, you know, normal TV shows that are just comfortable, you know, but then you watch a movie like Tenet. You know, I watched that recently and I was just mind blown. You know, I was like, fuck, this is so just forward thinking and out of the box. This is so awesome. And that, you know, that's the kind of response I hope to get from our music. You know what I mean?
Yeah, fair enough. And I still need to see that one. I haven't watched it yet, so
oh man, it
I have to
is
check it
just
out.
crazy. You might have to rewind some parts and just be like, what?
No, but that's a good thing, because like I said, I've found it very difficult to find good movies. So I've been watching all Tarantino movies and that kind of stuff just because I want to watch a good film. But a lot of it is remakes. So I found that maybe this is true for music. Maybe I can get your perspective on this. But there seems to be, within the movie industry, at least, they make a lot of movies that already have a fan base ready. Mm-hmm. They already have kind of, they know it's going to make bank in a way. Is that true for the music industry as well, where they
absolutely?
But you as a band do get a lot of freedom, right?
Yeah, we've been lucky to never have anyone kind of step on our, you know, we've had total creative freedom our entire career. And I think any label that's going to work with us knows that. But yeah, I mean, it's the same for music, man. I mean, you look at what's popular on the radio and there's really no depth to it whatsoever. Not to sound like some elitist, you know, opinionated asshole, but, you know, it's just kind of true. You know, they find a formula that works that your average person can identify with or relate to, and they like it. And they continue to put out songs that are built on that same formula. You know, that's what, you know, commercial music is. And every once in a while, you get saved, you know, like Radiohead will put out a new record, or, you know, there's some new band that comes out that's cool, you know, like, or Ghost puts out a new record, or whoever else, you know, you'll find the really cool stuff in the cracks, you know,
Right.
but on average, the majority of the stuff you're seeing is just the same old shit over and over. And I think it's the same in film as it is in music. You know what I mean? The standard has kind of gone down a bit. I'm not sure why that is, but, you know.
As a final question then, and this is going to be my very last because I've said that before. How do I don't know if it's a good question either. How do we get people to engage more with art instead of just I don't know if because maybe I'm just projecting some onto there, but how do we get more appreciation for art, or so to say? Is there a way to get rid of that mediocrity that is kind of applauded these days?
I'm not sure if there is a way, because, you know, I've been watching a lot of old documentaries on music I loved from growing up. And if you listen to music that was on the radio in the early 90s to the 80s to the 70s, there's brilliant shit happening. There's guitar solos. There's not guitar solos anymore on commercially successful music. I mean, Michael Jackson had Eddie Van Halen on a fucking song, you know? So, like, I think that the attention has been focused away from that, you know? And I think the only way for it to really become cool again is for it to be put on a bigger platform, to be shown off, because all it takes is somebody saying, hey, this is cool. And everybody thinks it's cool, right? So, you know, that's kind of how fashion is, right? You know,
Right.
you can dress like a beanbag chair, and you're in some, you know, and then everybody dresses like a beanbag chair or whatever. You know, it's kind of like it's impressionable, you know. But
So it's about exposure. So that as long as people get a various diet of different types of art or different types of music, there's a lot more possibilities then, probably.
yeah, but you know, you take like the really big bands that are still super successful, that are super abstract and super creative, they've been grandfathered in because they've been around for a while, like Nine Inch Nails, Radiohead, stuff like that. Like, those bands they're big for life because they started in a time where people still bought records, back when like being rock stars was a thing still. So, you know, I think they're always going to be safe and successful. But, you know, I would say until the media grabs the more underground stuff and kind of gives it exposure, I don't really know how big and focused everyone can be on it. I think it's a niche market, man. And I think I don't know. They just go for what's safe. You know, it's the McDonald's analogy, dude.
Right. And then I suppose I would say in large terms that's probably a good thing as well. I mean, not that the music isn't very good, but the fact that some things you have to do a little bit more effort to listen to it. It costs a little bit more effort, a little bit more of a deep dive, and I still enjoy those moments because it counteracts so much with everything like the McDonald's that you're bombarded with.
Yeah.
Dusty, thank you so much for taking the time. Sorry, I went on a kind of tangent at the end there.
Nah, man. It was a great interview, man. Thank you. It was nice to meet you.
All right, you too. And yeah, like I said, I really love the album. It's always for me, because I do listen to a lot of albums for my work, and then sometimes albums start to sound the same, or you kind of realize what people are doing. And with albums like the one you made, it's like I said, it's unpredictable, and I love that. I love that I don't know where it's going. That's the best feeling, I suppose, in music, for me at least.
Well, that's a huge compliment, man. So thank you very much.